Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a wonderful Monday afternoon. Okay, a little bit different than we normally do, but I figured you guys weren't going to wait. You guys weren't going to wait around. The algorithm wasn't going to wait around. Wasn't going to wait around till 8 o'clock. Okay, when the news gets dumped, why have this studio? Why be in it all the damn time if I'm not going to come to you when the news gets broke? So here we are, 4 o'clock, some odd time in the afternoon. Let's see, official time, 4:19 was the official announcement time from the Georgia football Twitter account. Carson Beck returning for his redshirt junior year at the University of Georgia. Quote, "My friends and family have helped put me in a situation to have options for my future. However, the NFL can wait one more year. I am returning to UGA for my senior season. We need everyone's support in Miami to close out the season the right way." Hey, that's what we knew was going to happen. Not necessarily knew was going to happen with regards to the NFL draft announcement. We knew Buddy was going to be playing in the Orange Bowl no matter what, okay? But today's announcement, he's coming back for another year. The immediate kind of reaction, right? We all kind of, thought this was going to happen. I think the last update I gave her over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin was that I was kind of like 80-20, 80 on the return, 20 on the go. The only hesitation on the go, here's what the eval was from the NFL. That dude's a first-round football player. That dude's a first-round quarterback. We just don't know. All right, we had this discussion earlier on in the year about thinking you know something versus actually knowing it, right? We knew, but now we know. That's the kind of what the NFL is doing right now with Carson Beck, or what they did with Carson Beck during this evaluation. We think we know that guy's an NFL quarterback. He walked out there year one as a starter, 72.5% completion percentage, almost, or I think over 4,000 yards, whatever the total stats were. Looked like a dude, 6'5", 230 pounds. We know that guy's going to play on Sundays. We think we know, but we need to know for sure. And the only way to know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, is if we get that 24, 25 starts in that college ranking, right? We want to make sure. We want to make sure this guy gets that 10,000 hour theory, that full repertoire of reps possible. So he's going to come back for that reason, to really certify what everybody thinks they know, which is that this guy will ultimately be a first-round caliber quarterback whenever he goes to the NFL draft. The bet he was going to have to make, the gamble he was going to have to make, is that one of those teams in the bottom end of that first round was going to think that they knew enough to take a gamble on him this year. And that gamble of maybe I'm a first-round pick can slide to, oh, damn, I'm automatically a third-round pick now, because though the Jalen Hurts story is great, not a lot of second-round draft picks at the quarterback position. Most of those are position players left over from that first-round evaluation that didn't get picked on day one. A lot of the quarterbacks that are deemed first-round worthy, by God, they get drafted in the first round. Okay, so that was that gamble. Hey, maybe I'm a late-round first-round pick, but I might end up being a third-round pick. Why don't we make sure? Why don't we put that thing in concrete by coming back for another year in college football? And that's what he did. And I'm looking at these draft eligibles list right here, right? We still don't know about Brock Bowers, though we assume. I mean, that's a top 10 pick. You would be crazy, right? You would really, really love playing at the University of Georgia if you passed up a top 10 evaluation. Though some would say, hey, he's going to be a top 10 evaluation next year. All right, Amarius Mims. You would think that guy's going to the NFL draft. Kamari Lassiter, you would think that guy's going to the NFL draft. But the rest of these guys, man, the rest of this list that I'm looking at, there's a lot of returns, right? Carson Beck returning, Tate Ratledge probably returning, Dominic Lovett returning, Robert Thomas returning. Hey, Javon Bullard, still kind of a coin toss there. Tyke Smith, feel like good feeling there. He's probably going to return. Warren Brinson, probably going to return. Nazir Stackhouse, probably going to return. There is a lot of really good NFL caliber football players that about, I'd say 2 weeks ago, most of us would have thought, hey, whenever that thing's done in 2023, those guys probably going to need to be replaced. No, sir. Not looking like it. Looking like Georgia's actually going to be like really, really pinned up on the number if you really pay attention to it. and pay attention to it closely. Where does this put Carson Beck? I think is the next talking point, and one that, again, by the way, we're going to talk about all of these things. Apparently, I'm having mic problems. That's just delightful. Um, Anyways, make sure you're liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. We're gonna talk about all these things in depth with the full audio and the full team this evening, but we're just spewing these right now. Um, anyways, let's get back to this. Where does this put him in that like ranking of returning quarterbacks? We still don't know if JJ McCarthy's going to come back, though it's kind of feeling that he might be returning, especially with Jim Harbaugh having been forced to maybe potentially sign a contract extension very, very soon. Okay, so that timeline on the Michigan thing we've already talked about is pretty interesting. But anyways, um, we were talking about the JJ McCarthy may come back, may return, whatever. All right. But Carson Beck probably a slightly better eval right now today based off this year's performances, not based off 2 years' performances and a slightly larger sample size of that of JJ McCarthy, though McCarthy a little bit more athletic, right? Jalen Milroe obviously returning to Alabama next year. That would be one of the in the mix for like, hey, who's going to be in that lead conversation for Heisman Trophy next year? And then outside of that, you got to go, hey, Quinn Ewers maybe at Texas. Maybe there's a young gun that ends up popping up as a first-year starter. But when you look at the landscape of college football next year, who knows what's going to happen with the graduate transfers finding new homes. All right, that's obviously been a history of success for those guys in terms of racking up stats. You look at guys like Jaden Daniels, just won the Heisman after having transferred from Arizona State. But those aren't one-year wonders. Those are guys that have been kind of sitting in the system for like a second year, as Jaden Daniels had after balling out last year. But you really look at the landscape of college football next year, and you have to look at Carson Beck and say, hey, that's one of the top like three dudes in college football next year at the quarterback position, top four guys at the quarterback position. You know, you can argue for names like Shadur Sanders, but we're getting into that mix at that point. So Georgia has one of the deeper rosters returning next year, looks like from a defensive perspective. Defensive back, still a lot of question marks, not necessarily talent, but hey, who's going, who's staying, who's leaving for the draft, who's returning, that kind of stuff, and what ultimately happens with all of those subsequent dominoes once they fall. But outside of that, man, that defensive front looks really solid. That defensive linebacking core was good enough to push out an all SEC player. We found out this week. Okay, so like all of these things are lining up for Georgia to not only be one of the deeper rosters defensively, but now they return almost everything but a first round, presumably a first round tight end, and whatever happens at the running back position. Outside of that, slap full of nothing but returns. Okay, and of course the tackle in Amari Smith again, presuming that that's what ultimately happens right there. Hey, I'm gonna save the rest of it for the rest of tonight's show because we have 2 hours coming up. If you have not, all right, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, all that good stuff. Hitting that thumbs up button. I have a load of opinions. We've got a new co-host sitting in the chair tonight. Lot to look forward to. Okay, we'll see you at 8 o'clock here live on the channel. Love you.